Think about one belief you have about success, love, self worth, rest, or failure as you listen. Hi, welcome back to Inner Compass, our episode 2 of mini series Borrowed Beliefs. In our last episode, we explored a powerful question: whose life are you living? We examined how many of us move through life following invisible scripts, beliefs, and expectations we inherited long before we had the awareness to question them. Today we go deeper. Today we ask, what are borrowed beliefs? And perhaps more importantly, how do they shape the life you're building? A borrowed belief is an idea you accepted as truth without consciously questioning it or choosing it. A thought pattern, perhaps, handed to you by your environment, by your family, your culture, school, religion, relationships, society, or just repeated experiences. These beliefs often become so deeply embedded, we stop recognizing them as learned. They begin to feel like facts. They become the lens through which we interpret ourselves and the world. And because they feel familiar, we rarely question them. But familiarity does not equal truth. Many of the beliefs guiding your life today may not actually belong to you. They may simply be inherited stories. Maybe somewhere along the way you learned that success means constant achievement, that rest is laziness, that love must be earned, making mistakes means failure. Being needed makes you valuable. Wanting more is selfish. If people are disappointed in you, you've obviously done something wrong. At first, these ideas may seem harmless, sometimes even praised. They can sound responsible, disciplined, respectable, but over time, borrowed beliefs can quietly shape every decision you make. They influence jobs you accept, the relationships you tolerate, the boundaries you avoid setting, the dreams you silence, the risks you never take, and often they do this without your awareness. You may simply feel stuck, or anxious, or disconnected. You may wonder why achievement never feels like enough, why rest feels uncomfortable, why saying no feels like guilt, why even after doing everything right, something feels off. The answer often is you're trying to build a meaningful life on beliefs that were never consciously examined. They operate beneath the surface, quietly directing your choices while disguising themselves as logic, as truth, as just the way things are. But beliefs are not facts. They are interpretations and can be challenged. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche believed that many people inherit moral framework and assumptions without ever questioning their origin. He challenged us to examine the values we accept and to ask whether they arise from fear, conformity, or genuine personal truth. His work was ultimately about conscious creation, not rebellion for the sake of rebellion, but thoughtful examination, the courage to ask, who taught me this? Why do I believe it? Does this belief expand my life or limit it? These questions can be unsettling because when you begin questioning borrowed beliefs, you often begin questioning parts of your identity. You've spent years believing your worth comes from productivity. What happens when you rest? You've tied your identity to pleasing others. What happens when you disappoint someone? If you believed safety lies in staying small, what happens when you finally allow yourself to grow and expand? This is why transformation often feels so uncomfortable. You're just not changing habits. You're dismantling internal structures that once helped you feel secure. And that process can feel very disorienting. But discomfort does not always mean something is wrong. Sometimes discomfort is the sign that something is false, is being challenged. Think about how many beliefs were absorbed before you ever had the ability to evaluate them. As children, we often accept the world exactly as it is presented to us. If approval was conditional, we may learn that love must be earned. If achievement was highly praised, we may learn that worth comes through performance. If emotions were dismissed, we may learn that vulnerability is weakness. These beliefs are often survival adaptations. They helped us navigate our early environments, but what protected us then may limit us now. And a belief that once kept you safe now keeps you small. This is where self-awareness becomes so essential. The goal is not to blame your past. It is not reject everything you were taught. It is simply to become more conscious enough to choose. Some inherited beliefs may still align with your truth. Others may need to be released. And discernment begins with honest reflection. So today I invite you into that reflection to ask yourself, what beliefs shape my daily decisions? What assumptions do I rarely question? When do I feel guilt, fear, or resistance? And what belief might be underneath that feeling? When I feel pressure to perform, to prove, or please, what story am I obeying? Then ask the deeper question. Is this belief serving the life I truly want to create? If the answer is no, that awareness matters, because awareness creates choice, and choice creates freedom. The moment you identify a borrowed belief, you accept and you create space between yourself and that story. You no longer have to obey it automatically. You can examine it, challenge it, rewrite it, and that is where conscious becoming begins. Not in perfection, not in having all the answers, but in your willingness to notice what has been unconsciously running your life. Before we close, here is today's reflection practice. Write down one belief you carry about success, love, worth, rest, or failure. Then answer these 3 questions. Where did I learn this? How has it shaped my life? What might become possible if I no longer believed it? Sit with your answers. Still your mind. Be honest. Be curious. You do not have to rewrite your entire life today. You only need to begin seeing clearly. Because once you can see a borrowed belief, you can choose whether to keep carrying it. Thank you for joining Alexandra, your host on Inner Compass. Next podcast, we'll explore the masks we wear. the identities we built to survive, belong, and be accepted, and what happens when those masks begin to separate us from who we truly are. Until then, question gently, reflect honestly, and choose consciously.